this tutorial, we're going to use InDesign CC 2020 to go through Classroom in a Book Chapter 5, which is all about flowing text. So it's really nice to be able to take a bunch of text that you've been given, someone's prepared in another document, to just be able to lay it out, because it is much easier to be a designer than to be the designer, the editor, and the writer all at once. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's look at InDesign. Let's go to that Start file. Let's do File, Save As. Let's come down and do first initial, last name, underscore, InDesign, Classroom in a Book, Chapter 5. And go ahead and push Save. Alright, so from there we're going to go ahead and let's make sure we're all working from the same place. Go to Window, Workspace. Let's make sure we're working in Advanced, and that we can see our pictures nice and clearly. So View, come down to our Display Performance and change that to High Quality. Make our P's nice and pretty. Alright, so one of the first things we want to do is play with this box right here. We want to add some text over here. So let's go ahead and take a peek at what the end result looks like. P's, please, and this information. So let's go ahead and add that in. We're going to go ahead and do that by placing it. So let's go File and Place. And we want this one, we want to make sure we're in Lesson 5. And I want to grab this one called Highlights. Alright, with highlights we have our loaded cursor. We're going to go ahead and click into this first already created text box. It's going to go ahead and go in. You're going to see that we've got some problems with some overset text here. So you've got the little plus sign, which means we have some issues. We are going to work with fixing that here in a little bit. So let's do a few things first. Let's go ahead and grab our type tool. And with our type tool, we want to go ahead and click in our box. So with our text, let's do an edit, select all. So that means it will grab all the text that we can't see as well. Let's go to type. Come down here to paragraph styles. Alright, within paragraph styles we've got several styles that are already set up. We've got one over here that said body text. Let's go ahead and expand that out. And we want to go ahead and choose the one called sidebar text. So they've already styled all this and gone through and set all the rules for us as far as this one's concerned. Alright, let's go ahead and say Control S and save. Now with our text tool, let's go ahead and go in right before plant, and let's push an enter or return and put P's, and let's do it with all caps, P's, comma, please. Alright, now you'll see that once again our box has overset text. So let's go ahead and switch to our selection tool, and let's go to Object. Let's come up here to Text Frame Options. And within Text Frame Options, we want to go ahead and do Auto Size. We want to say Auto Size, we want it to be height only, and we want it to come down from the top. Make sure your preview's on so you can see what's going on, otherwise you can see how it moves it around, so we want to go ahead and put it from the top. And let's go ahead and say OK. So we went ahead and resized that box for us. I'm going to go ahead and click on the pasteboard to deselect everything. Alright, so let's go ahead and go to the next thing. The next thing we want to do is add some text to this actual story itself. So let's grab our type tool, and we're going to click in this first box. I'm not seeing my hidden characters, so let's go to type and do the show hidden characters. Make sure those are turned on. Alright, so let's go ahead and do a file place. And with file place, we want to go ahead and grab this one. It's called 05ps.docs and say open, and it's going to go ahead and place that in our text box because we already had it selected. Now if you see, we have our little red out port here, which means we've got an issue with some overset text that we're going to have to deal with. So how do we fix that? We can take our selection tool. We want to click on the out port, which is the little error box, and it's going to give us a loaded cursor, and we want to go ahead and click that into the next box over, and see it's automatically going to resize and put that in there. So what's really cool about that is if I change the size of this one, it's automatically going to flow that text into the next box. So you always want to flow your text. You don't want to try and figure out how to split it manually. It's just not worth your time. All right, so let's go ahead and do a Control S and save what we have so far. And we still have a whole bunch of extra text that we need to fix. So with our selection tool, let's go ahead and grab that out port from the bottom of page 2 here. And let's go ahead and go to Layout. Go down here to Next Spread. It's going to give us the next few pages. So we should have had a loaded cursor. I'm going to go back and get my loaded cursor. There we go. Now I got my loaded cursor. All right, now I'm on my next spread. I want to go ahead and do View, Fit Spread, and Window so I can see the whole thing. On the top of the left page, I want to position that loaded cursor right here at the top where the intersects guide. And as I click, I'm going to hit the Alt or the Option, which is going to mean leave my cursor loaded, which means if you have more, go ahead and put that in as well. So let's go ahead and put that second column of text in as well. And as you can see, we still have overset text. This is a really long article we have to deal with. So let's do a Control S and save. So let's find out another way we can put some text in. Let's go ahead, grab that Type tool. And with the Type tool, we want to go ahead and position it in the first column where they intersect, and we want to drag it down to create a text frame that spans both of them. So I'm going to click and hold and drag. And before I let go of my mouse, I want to go ahead and hit my right arrow one time. So it's going to create 2 different text frames. And we want to make sure we fit the guides. When we're good with it, we go ahead and let go. So now you can see I've got 2 different boxes. I'm going to go ahead and grab my selection tool, grab my out port right here, and get my loaded icon and put it in right up here. And because we split it, it automatically filled both of those for us, which made life a little bit faster. So let's do Control S and save what we have so far. And you might be saying that's great, but what if I have a book? What if I have something really, really big I've got to deal with? So let's go to Layout and Next Spread, and let's find a few other things to do. Oh, I lied. Go back up. Grab your selection tool, get your loaded cursor, double click. All right, now go to Layout, Next Spread. All right, so we've got this next spread. Now the next spread we've got a problem because we can see we've got all kinds of pictures and other things that we're going to have to deal with, and we don't necessarily want to have to mess with those a whole lot. So let's go ahead, we're going to position this at the top, and as we are about to push click, we are going to hit Shift at the same time. And the Shift is going to automatically start rolling that onto all these extra pages. And you're going to see we've got some problems. We've got some text over our images. That's okay. We're going to fix it. We'll go back and fix that. So let's go ahead to this image right here. Let's grab our selection tool and grab those text frames right here. And we want to shift select both of them. So we've got both. Now let's go to Edit and come down to Clear. And it's going to delete those text frames. So now we're much better off. So let's go down to the next one. And we've got 2 here. Undo. I'm going to click on my frame. I'm going to shift click, grab that one as the second one as well. Go Edit and Clear. So now it's going to reflow that information for us. So we're closer, but we're not all the way there yet. Let's do Control S and save what we have so far. So let's go ahead, before we play too much with other stuff, let's go ahead and apply some paragraph styles to our text before we do too much more. So let's go ahead and go to the Type tool, click in any frame that we just imported. So let's go in here. Let's go with our Type tool. I'm going to go in, I'm on page 4 of Soda. And I want to go to Edit, Select All, so it's going to select all my copy in the entire story. I'm going to go to Type, come down here to Paragraph Styles. And within Paragraph Styles, in my body copy, I want the one that says Body Paragraphs. So it's going to go ahead and change a lot of that text already for me. So let's go to Layout. Let's go to page 1. Go to page, enter 1. So this works really well if you maybe have a really, really large document that's a little bit harder to get around. Let's say OK. So in this P's Please, let's go ahead and click in that P's Please, Peas Grow Well first paragraph. So we're going to go ahead and we want to add a drop cap to that first paragraph. So we're going to go ahead in that first paragraph, because the paragraph style, we can just have it in there, don't have to have a word selected, and let's do drop cap. So it's automatically going to drop that P for us. So now we want to go ahead and do something with our subheads. So we've got our view, fit, spread, and window. We're going to get both of our pages. And let's go ahead with our type tool and select the word fertilizing here in the first. And let's go ahead into our paragraph styles, and we want to grab the body head paragraph style. So it's going to go ahead and change that. So now we're going to go ahead and change a few other subtitles as well. So we've got one here for sewing. So we're going to sewing, body head. And we want thinning out. Here it is, thinning out. And we want protection from birds. We want picking peas. And follow crops. Alright, so now we've gone through and reset all of that with the paragraph styles. So it made it really easy. So if I wanted to, I could easily go into body head and change those all to a different color. I can do a lot of different things with them because they are a style. Let's do a Control S and save what we have so far. And let's adjust some of those columns. Let's go ahead and go to our pages and go to page 4. We see we've got some text going over onto our subhead, our little pull-out box down here, which we do not want. Let's grab our selection tool and drag the bottom of that text frame up to about 2.1 or so. See how it's changing. Alright, so that pushed picking peas over. And let's do the same here. Get those guides to match. Alright, I'm going to come down. I can go to my layout. Next spread, or I can scroll either way. I want to go ahead and grab the bottom here and drag it to about 2.1 again. 2.1 seems too much. Let's go ahead and do 2.5. Okay. And I've got this one as well. I'm going to go ahead and pull up to 2.5. So I've got them all even in the end. So let's go ahead and select that text frame. We're happy, we're ready to go. Let's go ahead and do Control S and save what we have so far. So now we want to adjust the vertical spacing. By doing that, we're going to play with something called the baseline grid. So first we have to set that up. Let's go to Layout. Let's go to Page. We want number 1 and enter. We want to select the type tool. We want to go in that first paragraph of the story, so peas grow well. And we want to look at the leading value in the character panel. So we want to look over here in character, and this is our leading panel right here. It shows us, it's a little A above A, how much space is actually between those words. So let's go to Edit. Let's come down to Preferences, and let's go to Grids. Or if you're on a Mac, it's in Design Preferences. In Baseline Grid, so Baseline Grid, we want to go ahead and type 0. So our start is 0, not 0.5. Alright, we're going to leave this as top margin. We want to make this 11 points, and we want our view threshold to be 75. And we're going to go ahead and say OK. Now it seems like we did nothing, but we did actually do something. Let's go to View, Grids and Guides, and come over to Show Baseline Grids. Alright, so it's going to kind of look like paper you're used to drawing on. Let's go to View and View Actual Size. So it's actually pretty tiny. Let's go to the Type tool and anywhere in the paragraph. We're still there. So let's go ahead and do a Edit, Select All. And let's go to Type and Paragraph and get our pop-up menu over here. In our pop-up menu, we want to align to the baseline grid, which is the second one over on the bottom. So it's going to shift all the text so it actually sits on that baseline grid. So let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. I'm going to close this, switch to my selection, and zoom in so you can actually see. So how we had it kind of flowing before, it is now sitting, all of it is sitting on that baseline grid, which makes it much nicer, especially as you're going from paragraph to paragraph and you're going across pages so they all sit in the same place. So it's exactly what we want. Let's do a Control S and save. Let's go to View, come down here to Grids and Guides, and let's go ahead and hide that baseline grid. We don't want to see it. Alright, so now we want to add a jump page line number. So let's go ahead and jump up to page 1. And we want to tell people that this story is actually continued over on the next page. So let's use our Type tool. And let's go ahead and create a text box. And in that text box, we want to go ahead and type the words P's continued on. Nope, I'm in capitals. Alright, now mine's a little bit too small, so let's go ahead and make a little bit smaller. Let's go ahead and let's make the box a little bit bigger first. Okay, so continued on. Go back in my box here. And I want to do a space. I want to do insert. Or I want to go to type, insert special character. I want to go ahead and add a marker. And I want it to put next page number. So it's going to go ahead and, because it's not touching, it says 2. So let's go ahead and grab that, move it up so it touches the next box. And it's going to say continued on 2 for us. So it has to be touching the box that you want it to jump over to. And let's go ahead, grab a paragraph style for that one. Let's go to, your paragraph styles are right here. I'm going to go ahead and grab the one called continued to from line. Let's see. Continued to from line. There we go. So it's much smaller. And I can go ahead and nudge that over just a tiny bit so it lines up with my margin. So if it's not touching the text box, it won't know to go on to the next page. So that's all you want to do for that one. So it's relatively easy to flow text. Let's do a view. Extras, show text threads. So I can actually see how my text is threaded from one page to another. And it shows how my information is going to flow throughout my entire publication. So that's exactly what you want it to do. You could go through here. Let's go to page 8. We know we don't have anything. Let's do a view, fit page and window. We know we don't have anything here, so we could just delete this page. So just 8 and hit the delete. Say yes. So now we have just our 7 pages and we are good to go. So maybe you want to do something like balance these 2 columns out a little bit more. You could play with things a little bit more here. It's up to you as to how you're going to lay out that last page. So I'm going to do a Control S. Last thing we need to do is package. So File, Package. I'm going to go ahead and say I don't have any errors. I'm checking for errors. Package. I want to make sure I'm in my lesson 5. I want to call it, instead of folder, I want PKG, so I know it's my packaged one. Yes, check the first 3. Yes, check all the last ones and say package. I'm going to go ahead and go to my File Explorer, my Windows Explorer, wherever I can get a hold of my see my files. So I'm here in my files. I'm going to look at my desktops where I've got them for this one. In my lesson 5, I can see I've got my Oser package. Double check it. Fonts, links, IDML, INDD, PDF, perfect. Right click, send to compressed folder or zip folder depending on which system you're on. I've got my zipped folder right here, and it's my zipped one that I want to turn in. So much easier chapter 5 than chapter 4. And I hope you learned something good about flowing text.